Uh, and what is next? So I'm going to give you this question real fast, and you're welcome to help me out with this little video uh, thing. So next computer. So what is next computer? Next computer was the OS that was made by Steve Jobs after he saw Silicon Graphics and what were the other ones at the time? God, Silicon Graphics. I can't remember the. I can see them in my head. There are all these fuchsia color workstations, and there were high power Unix systems that did all the 3D animation and everything. And Steve Jobs saw the vision of where 3D was going, and that was when he started Pixar and Next Computer. And he needed to put a OS in a. Ultimately, Steve Jobs needed to get an OS inside of a computer in his new Next Cube, which was all the rage. And so he did that, and then later on, the way that every Apple computer is actually a BSD Unix system. It's not Apple. It's BSD Unix. Don't let any Apple fanboy ever tell you that Apple is anything but BSD under the hood, because the entire fucking operating system is BSD, and they don't get credit for it at all. But the way it went is Apple started failing because they were failing on this, Gil Amelio was running it, and people were eyeing him for the real estate, and they were getting ready to go down the tubes, and they said, "Hey, Steve, come save us." So Steve says, "Fine, but I bring him my operating system with me." So he takes Next Computer, puts it inside of the new, Mac OS, and then from then on, everybody, and then later on, it used to report as BSD and uname. If you did uname-a, it would report as BSD, and then they changed it to Darwin because it's the evolution of BSD or whatever. So the question I always had, though, and this is why I'm asking this question right now, is was Wozniak involved with Next? So I'm going to go ask this question. I don't know the answer, so we'll go look for the answer, see if we can find it in 20 minutes. This is a computer. So Next Computer, this probably has a picture of it, so let's pull up the graphic version. Maybe not, we'll see. It was Next after all. Next, Fremont, California, workstation, Motorola, CPU, Ethernet connectivity. There we go. There's a Next Cube. That's an ugly one, though. Tim Berners-Lee. Oh my God. A Next Cube was the first computer on the World Wide Web? Holy cow, I did not know that. Doom 2. Developed by On Next machines. See, I'm telling you, Next was the rage. It was like the coolest thing you could possibly have. First time I experienced it, I worked for FiberNet. I walked in. They hired me as the web developer and director of sales / director of sales. 3 of us, and the engineer at the time, who was a real asshole, by the way, had a Next Cube, and he swore by it. Guy was completely psycho. He would fake emails about people criticizing us, and then I trace the IPs, and the guy was nuts. He was nuts. He was brilliant, but he was fucking nuts. Often the case with Next users. But so OpenStep, it used OpenStep. So OpenStep, I have a feeling OpenStep was the original BSD derivative. So there it is. So here we go. Next was introduced, selected for flagship product, $6,500. This was back in the time when that, workstations were the new thing, and they were more powerful. Next Step is a discontinued object-oriented multitasking operating system based on the Mach kernel and the Unix-derived BSD. It was developed by Next Computer in the late 1980s and early 1990s. So Next was the OS that went on to become Darwin, if I believe it, if I think this is correct. But I want to know who made it. So we have to figure out who made Next Step to figure out who made it. So here's Next Step. Seriously, they just ripped BSD off straight up. This is where Objective-C came from. So you remember how, like Mac is still all Objective-C, right, under the hood? Yeah. Under the hood, there's a lot of Objective. Some people would say the largest, source code footprints are Objective-C from Apple. There's the C++. Objective-C and C++, there was kind of a fork in the road. There's a good video on that. You can go on YouTube. And it talks about why either one could have won, but Objective-C ended up staying on Mac mostly. And anyway, What else can we look at? I'm mostly just trying to answer the question of who made it and was involved. Yeah, I did not know id Software used NextStep to build Doom and Quake. Doom and Quake were built on NextStep. Holy cow! The first World Wide Web was built on NextStep. So that, and you know what? You can actually say the World Wide Web was built on a Mac because the underlying OS for that later became Mac OS and Darwin and all that is NextStep. So I'm going to prove it right now. Unix for BSD was developed. It was developed by Next Computer. There's their 1980s logo. In the late 80s and early 90s, it was the initial of the range of workstation computers. Yeah, like Sun. This, if you want that, that reminds me of Dennis. If Dennis was here, he would be love this picture. I mean, he was mostly a hardware guy. You're right, but I was just wondering if, yeah, he probably did. So who wrote it? That's what I want to know. It was developed at Next Computer, but by whom? You know, um, I do think it's interesting that I don't think the internal code was written in C++ because it was mostly BSD. The kernel was C. The all the stuff on the outside of it where it was, you know, all the pretty stuff. Maybe it was Objective C because that was all. Objective C was just copying Smalltalk. By the way, it was just like, hey, let's make C that looks like Smalltalk or acts like Smalltalk. I remember these little things though. You had these little like buttons were the coolest thing. You have them up on the sides and down here. It was like that interface just brings back all kinds of memories for me. Um, so historically, let's see, working state historic as original code base didn't directly involve with the Next. He did design the Apple desktop bus, but that was used in Next. Did he really? Thank you for that insight. Thank you for that. I've been kind of trying to figure this out. So another 15 minutes to geek out on Woz's involvement in Next, if any, and in the return of Steve Jobs to the Apple computer. I was just wondering if he deserved a credit for the next step, or how. What I want to know is who did Steve Jobs wrangle into Next Computer to build it? You know, I want to know who he got to do it. Apple Computer co-founded based on Redwood, California. The company made computer workstations because this is the person we really need to thank. Apple needs to thank for the terminal, you know, BSD that you have right now. You can thank the Next Computer and Steve Jobs, who pretty much said, "Hey, I want to steal an OS and put it in Next because I don't want to have to make my own." Next was just the first year of Next Computer in 1988, and the smaller Next Station. Next Computer experienced relatively limited sales. Yeah, Steve Jobs never cared about making money. That's why I got kicked out of Apple, by the way. He was burning money like crazy. He deserved to get kicked out. He had no accountability whatsoever. He said, "I don't care." So here we go. Their innovative object Next Step operating system and development environment variable interface builder was highly influential. The first major outside investment was Ross Perot. Are you kidding me? Holy cow! I voted for him. I voted for Ross Perot. I did not know this. Ross Perot was the director of Next Computers? You've got to be fucking kidding me. I did not know that. I had no idea. This is such a good discovery. I had no idea. He was the director of Next Computer. Holy cow. Vice President of Engineering. Who is this guy? At Carnegie Mellon University, he was a principal designer and engineer of the Mach operating system. He leveraged that work at Next and Foundation. So that's where Mach came from. First Linux I ever installed on a computer was on a PowerPC Mac Pro. It wasn't called a Pro at the time. It was but I had a Mac, a desktop Mac. I had a desktop Mac, and I kicked out my computer and I put Mach Linux on there. And so I should probably know that Avi Tavanyan, who invented Mach operating system. I don't even know about him, and I should, because we can thank that person for your terminal on Mac. If it weren't for him, you wouldn't have a Mac with a terminal that's BSD like. So Mach, I guess, was a version of a version of BSD, I suppose. Exchange for stocks, join the board of directors. Next later released much of Next Step system as a programming environment called OpenStep. I do remember that. Next Step withdrew from the hardware business in 1993 to concentrate on OpenStep. As a side note, Pirates of Silicon Valley. Oh, right. Yeah, definitely. Triumph of the Nerds is also really good about this. Next also developed Web Objects, which fell apart. Let's see, Web Objects became very popular because of its initial high cost. Yes, web server based dynamic page generation rather than static content. His favorite company, Sun. Yeah. Was he in OpenStep too? I didn't realize that. Victorian. Yep. I didn't realize that was Dennis. I didn't know that. Apple purchased Next in 1997 for $429 million, which is nothing today. That's nothing. And 1.5 million shares of Apple stock. The merger converted Steve Jobs from chairman and CEO of Next to an advisor on Apple. The company founded, and he promised to support Next operating systems and Macintosh hardware, combine it with legacy application. So I think Woz never left. If I remember right, Wozniak never left Apple. He stayed there even when it was having trouble. If I remember right, I should probably go read about that. Mac OS and let's see, Next operating system to Macintosh hardware, combine it with the legacy application layer of Mac OS, Cocoa and all that jazz, and yield OS X, Mac OS. And the following decades, the new operating system was named Mac OS and was adapted into the embedded multimedia platforms iOS, watchOS, and tvOS, none of which provide their hardware source code, all of which are extensions of BSD. I'm telling you, Apple is in violent, open, non-compliance of the BSD license. I swear to God, and nobody has taken them to task over it because they just don't. When's the last time you saw anybody release extensions to their software for iOS? Or, you know what? And believe me, they do it. Elon Musk got caught doing this for Tesla kernel expansions. He got caught doing it. And then I guarantee you, iOS, watchOS, and tvOS all have extensions to the kernel that are not being made public. But they don't need to make them public because it's BSD. But they should be at least telling you how many. Raise your hand if you know that iOS is running BSD software. Nobody knows this. And that is a part of the licenses that you tell where it came from and stuff. So every time you use a device from Apple, you are using BSD. It's probably legal, right? Every single, your iPad, your iPhone, every fucking device that you use is BSD Unix under the hood. Every single one. And nobody knows this. And they think that they're running, I run Mac OS. No, you don't. You run BSD with a bunch of extra, GUI stuff out on top. Nice GUI, by the way. Pretty GUI. But you're running BSD and you don't know it. So, and then they're like, I would never use Unix. Unix is this is a Unix system. Do we need to play that now? I think we do. I know this. This is a Unix system. You know that meme, right? You guys, you know this meme, right?
It's a Unix system. I know this. It's all the files are all.
That's a Unix system,
it tells
guys.
you everything. I gotta find the right file.
Trying to reach the gun.
That's a Unix system. Yeah. Okay, there's the Unix. This is how you use Unix, guys. Just let you know.
I can't get in unless I'm on.
She then went on to be a martyr and an asshole in the final Star Wars. Oh, so sorry on your ears there, people. So sorry about that. Wow. We're gonna fix it. Yeah. So neither PSDs, yeah, based on BSD, yep. Oh, she's gonna do it. Rebooting the system. Yes, I rebooted Unix. Oh my god. Yes, 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 Unix. Wait, no kidding. See, wait. See, look. This, wait. It's a Unix system. And there's a bunch of graphics. Ed Curses is awesome. Wait, check this out. So this chick right here, look very closely. Here, stop. All right. Do you recognize her? Come on, guys. Where do you recognize her from? We were just talking about her today. Come on, I have to stop it right on the right thing. Right there. Oh, you can't recognize. Do you recognize her? What Star Wars is she from? Yeah, Laura Dern. So, can someone please tell me why they didn't just make a ship go light speed, put a droid in it? I came in recently, so don't know. This is Laura Dern, so it's a Star Wars person. So, someone tell me why you can't just put a droid in a starship and have it go light speed through the Death Star and destroy it. Because apparently, if you realize at the very last minute that you can turn around and go light speed through the middle of Snoke's ship, you can destroy the whole ship by cutting it in half. Why didn't anybody figure that out like a long time ago? Have a droid pilot the ship, have it go light speed through the middle of the ship, and cut it in half. The end. They could have done it with Darth Vader's Avenger destroyer. They could have done it with the Death Star itself. They could have... Anyway, they wouldn't have had to like sacrifice their lives. They could have just taken them all. Anyway, next. Okay, so, but Wozniak, I don't know if Woz was involved with any of this. It doesn't look like he was. So let's go. I'm going to read about Woz with my last 5 minutes here. So, Wozniak. Then it wouldn't have been fun, right? Then we couldn't have had horses running on the top of Star Destroyers. Woz.org. He started computer stuff for people. I think Wozniak stayed at Apple during that bad times. I think that's what's up there. This is no longer true, by the way. They lost half their value the next year. That's such a lie. Wozniak started developing at Apple II. Microsystem Rod Hill developed switching power supplies. Yep, Jeff Resnick. He left in 92. Did he? Jobs took over the project. Brief departure from the company due to traumatic airplane accident. Ooh. Apple in 1985. Oh, so it says here he left in 85. He created the first programmable universal remote. K-12 schools. Yeah, so he wasn't involved. He wasn't involved with Next at all. All right. Well, there you go. There's your answer. So the answer is there was no Woz involved in Next at all. He was never a Unix guy. I mean, he knew a lot of things. He's more of a hardware guy anyway. So there you go. Always made me smile. Thinking, yeah, he's fantastic. I love him. Very humble. So, see Berkeley and U.S. festivals. Avi Tavanyan was the lead designer on Mach kernel and developed the Next OS. Yep. I was just reading that on Wikipedia. So Avi Tavanyan is the person we should be thanking for the Mach kernel. So the Mach kernel was based on the BSD code, and they must have figured out how to compile it for what was the architecture back then? It was PowerPC. No, that was like way later. It wasn't RISC chips. It was Mach. So, God, what was that? What even was the hardware back then? I don't know what the chipsets were. This is a Dennis question. Is Dennis around? Probably not. But so there we go. I'm going to go ahead and end that video really. What's the Motorola 6800? Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I'm going to end that video really quick. So Wozniak was not involved with any of the next step stuff. It sounds like he left in '85. He wasn't involved with any of the transition that Apple made to using the Mach kernel, which was based on BSD, from the Next Step OS, which was then later Open Step, which became influential all across the board for lots of workstation-y kind of things. So that's the end of